This is Weirdly Enough, your regular podcast for strange stories and amazing facts, delivered straight to your favorite podcast directory and at weirdlyenough.com. Now, here are your hosts, Andy and Len.
Welcome back to Weirdly Enough, your podcast source for all the weird goings on around the world. We're on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Podcasts, Stitcher, iHeart, TuneIn, Alexa, Podcast Addict, Podchaser, Deezer, Listen Notes, and lots of other podcast systems as well. So however you get your podcast, do subscribe. We also have a channel now on YouTube where you can subscribe to our videos. Here's one for you. Would you consider the breaking of glass to be considered a provocative act?
I would say a mandatory jail term, or at least a fine. I mean, Boris in England anyway wants you to be fined over 3k for not wearing a face mask in an appropriate setting. So what you're talking about, I would say 10 grand maybe, or 6 months in prison.
Well, this guy got off lightly then. This is a guy in Austria, and the police believed that it was a provocative act, as they fined the man £500 for what they describe as letting go of a massive intestinal wind, apparently with full intent. Those are the operative words there, apparently, and intent. There you are. Apparently the man had been provoking officers before the incident. He does, however, have the right to appeal. There you go. That gets a start anyway. What are we looking at today on Weirdly Enough?
He sounds like pretty much the worst kind of person.
Yeah, I think definitely.
Right. You see, if Weirdly Enough was a book,
yeah,
right, you'd have different chapters. Okay.
Different episodes is what we have.
With different chapters, right?
Okay, right.
On a thematic basis, where you maybe collate different themes and different subjects,
yes,
right?
Of course.
And you'd have a chapter on mysterious people,
right?
You know, like
there's plenty of them.
Mysterious.
They're all walking by outside that window today.
Mysterious appearances, mysterious disappearances. You know,
well, that'd be different to mysterious people, though, wouldn't it?
It's all the same thing.
Okay.
You know, we're broad brushstrokes here. You know.
Yeah.
Right. We're all about left side of the brain thinking in this podcast, you know what I mean? But anyway, a mysterious character that you may or may not have heard of was a gentleman called John he claimed to be called John Titor.
Okay.
Right, that's Titor.
John Titor.
Or John, I'm assuming it's Titor. I'm not,
okay.
I could be pronounced that wrong. I'm sure we'll have our YouTube critics who will point out if
where and when was this guy around?
In 1998, Art Bell, host of the late night paranormal themed radio show Coast to Coast AM.
Hey, I'm Art Bell.
Yeah.
Okay.
Now this attracted eccentrics from all over the United States. Common themes were alien abduction, freaky physics, and more. He used to have open timelines segments in which anybody could dial in to the show with their own stories. Bell read a letter from a man claiming to be from the future, which naturally came in by fax. The unknown time traveller described a Y2K, God, this is so 2000, a Y2K disaster that would leave people frozen to death. I don't really know why, but
it never happened really.
A government, this was the thing where people thought planes were going to fly out of the sky and stuff. I
remember the turn of the millennium, you know, they had a TV show set up live on the BBC. What's going to happen? They had,
but
you know,
I remember there's always strange stuff. You know, the government would say you'd only be allowed to leave your house for like an hour a day.
Yeah.
You know, just for essential reasons. God, it would never happen. Like.
Yeah. No.
You know what I mean? Like,
it would never be. Yeah. Never be locked down.
Absurdism, like, you know. A government instituting martial law, a power facility in Denver destroyed by a mob, and a communal government system sprouting out of all the chaos.
Destroyed by a mob?
A mob.
Oh, I thought Paul Weller had gone on the rampage again.
So yeah, he went on this whole big spiel, and it was very much, it almost sounds more like, if you remember, do you remember Lee Ferree?
Yeah.
Back in the day, did like a show called Weird Weekends.
Yes.
And one of the weird weekends was hanging out with survivalists.
Okay.
In like the late 90s.
Yeah,
so it was all
that episode.
this kind of stuff, you know. It was all kind of government are coming for our guns.
Yeah.
FEMA camps. It was very Sir Alex Jones
Yeah.
type territory, like, you know. So there was this whole big mysterious call on Art Bell's show, and then nothing really happened for about a year or two. And then on bulletin boards in the year 2000, do you remember bulletin boards?
Bulletin boards. Well, bulletin boards, those dial-in things that it was before the internet. You could actually dial into a server and exchange messages and like download files and stuff.
Yeah. Were those around the 80s?
I think they would have been, yeah. But I remember using them because, well, you obviously had to pay for internet, but you could dial into these things kind of for free because they were set up in people's homes. And, yeah. They set up with kind of servers just in somebody's back room and stuff. So.
As a very quick aside, do you remember that show War Games? It was 1983 that came out about the wee lad that nearly started World War III.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, I don't know if
was he on the internet as such, or was that something different that he was on?
Must have been some military network or something.
Like some sort of military intranet or something. Anyway, we're getting off track here. Now, on bulletin boards in 2001, a mysterious poster started putting posts on claiming to be an American military time traveller from the year 2036.
Okay.
He called himself John Titor.
Okay.
And he made numerous vague and specific predictions regarding events in 2004 and beyond, including a nuclear war in 2015, none of which obviously came true.
Yeah.
But it became this whole big cult at the time. Now, I'm not even going to say this was true, because in the sense of he was literally a time traveller, because we're sitting here in 2020 and there obviously hasn't been, touch wood, yet World War III or like a nuclear war as such, so that's obviously not correct.
Yeah.
Now you could sort of go it from two angles. I mean, you could say, well, he was from like a different timeline, where this actually did happen,
right? Okay.
Or a more realistic and maybe more interesting idea is that it was an art project,
right?
Which I'm actually increasingly more kind of intrigued by, because it's a kind of theme that's kind of emerged over the past 10 years or so. People using the internet as kind of collaborative, kind of ongoing art projects, you know, and kind of almost creating these kind of narratives. Very interesting.
Well, he claimed to be a soldier, didn't he?
Yes. Yeah. It's a bit like the Terminator films, isn't it?
Right. Yeah. Soldier sent back. Well, and was he sent back with any purpose?
Well, yes. What was he sent back for?
Oh, for a computer, an IBM 5100.
He was assigned to a government time travel project to 1975 to retrieve an old IBM computer, which he said was needed to debug various legacy computer programs in 2036. He said that, and he stopped off in 2000 for personal reasons.
Right.
And that's why he was sitting, like, logging onto these bulletin boards, doing random stuff in 2000. Now, over the months, he tried to alert anyone that would listen about the threat of Creutzfeldt-Jakob disease,
right?
aka mad cow disease. Yes. And he basically was saying, "Don't eat beef."
That was around about the thousands, wasn't it?
Yeah. So like it's very sort of 90s, 2000. He was, don't be eating burgers or steak because you're gonna get mad cow disease and go mad. He was questioned about his posts. And he said he was worried about civil war in the United States,
right?
And you know the way things were going. He also expressed an interest in mysteries, such as UFOs, and he suggested that UFOs might be travellers from much further into the future than his own time, with superior time machines.
Right. Yeah.
You know, maybe they were operating the mystery airships we covered last week. Over the next 4 months, he responded to various questions from other posters describing future events in poetically phrased ways. Now, his final post was on March 24th, 2001, and he offered his final bit of advice. He said, "Bring a gas can with you when the car dies on the side of the road," implying that there's going to be some sort of like oil crisis or something like that.
That never happened.
So it's a bit of Mad Max almost. And he signed off forever and returned home. He was never heard of again. And over the next few years, there became like a whole big thing about John Titor. You know, it was a whole big early internet phenomenon.
Yeah.
Now, obviously, a lot of his predictions didn't come true because he said there would be a civil war in 2004 and that didn't happen.
Okay.
And he said as a result of the war, America was split into 5 regions based on various factors and differing military objectives, and ended up with what he called Endo, which was a big nuclear war in 2015. He claimed as a 13-year-old in 2011, this is presumably kind of post Civil War, he joined the Fighting Diamondbacks, a shotgun infantry unit in Florida,
right,
for at least 4 years. I'm assuming it was, things were so chaotic they were just running around like hillbillies with shotguns, and then the swamps or whatever. So he disappears and everybody's like, oh, what's going on? But obviously a lot of people were like, well, this is obviously a guy sort of, he's created this whole big phenomenon, but he's disappeared, but who's done it? Or maybe it's a group of people, or what's the crack? Now, there was an Italian television program called Voyager, and it did a show about John Titor on May 19th 2008, where they were working with a private investigator called Mike Lynch, and they found no evidence past or present of any individual called John Titor. He did, however, identify a John Titor Foundation, which was a for-profit company that was founded on September 16th 2003. It didn't have an office or address, but it had a rented PO box in Florida. So something was going on anyway. In 2018, there's a multimedia artist called Joseph Maffei, and he said he worked as a consultant for unnamed individuals responsible for the whole legend. And he said that John Titor is basically a story that was created as a literary experiment by people who wanted to sort of see how far they could take it, and how many kind of people they could draw on, and sort of just, it was supposed to be almost like an organic thing that would evolve. It's become a bit of a phenomenon. In 2004, members of George Mason University threw together a multimedia rock opera based on Titor. And according to IMDb, a feature-length film about Titor is in the pipeline. So yeah, it's becoming a bit of a strange thing.
I really don't believe that it was time travel. I just believe it was somebody making a load of stuff up for fun.
There's a book apparently published by the John Titor Foundation.
Oh, the foundation's back again.
Yeah. They self-published John Titor, A Time Traveller's Tale, and it's basically a bound copy of all the posts of the old message boards. Used copies of this are currently going for $130 on Amazon.
Oh, great!
So if you've got a spare $100 or so to burn through, you can do that.
Or you just search for the posts, But I suppose a lot of people like a hard copy, don't they?
It's still a big thing. I mean, according to this article that I dug up, a Google search for John Titor solution bounces back with 325,000 results.
Right.
So it's like a massive big thing. So people are still fascinated by it. So that's basically it. But it's he's obviously not a time traveler. He's obviously like got lots of science fiction ideas and kind of thrown them together. But it's interesting as an intellectual experiment, I think. And that's kind of my take on things.
That one person can do all that,
or a group of people as a project, and it's interesting when you get into internet culture and kind of how the whole nature of storytelling has become a different thing. And he was taking ideas from people he interacted with and incorporating that.
And maybe when we upload this podcast, it's the point that he finally gets in touch again. Maybe he'll comment on the podcast.
Well, yeah, I mean, if John Titor wants to get in touch,
we'll
have him on the show.
Oh, of course.
Definitely,
yeah. We'll do a Zoom meeting.
Yes, a Zoom meeting.
Exactly. We'll be back with a few more stories right after this. I just love this story here. This is about a roundabout that was built in Cambridgeshire. Cambridgeshire County Council were incredibly proud of their new initiative. It's a Dutch-style roundabout. Have you seen pictures of this? It looks wildly complicated. But what it does is give priority to cyclists over other road users. Cyclists love it. Other road users hate cyclists, don't they? But anyway, the roundabout cost the council a whopping £2.3 million, but they were all very happy about it until they'd even planned a lavish opening ceremony for their brand new junction. However, disaster struck the day before the event when a car crashed into the roundabout. It remained closed for a few days as contractors assessed the damage. So they reckon now it's probably back to the drawing board with their whole Dutch style roundabout.
Yeah, I saw something about that in the morning. In the morning, Joe.
And in Ukraine, a mother is now facing jail herself after getting caught trying to dig a tunnel so her son could escape from a jail. The 51-year-old woman rented a house near the jail and went to work on the tunnel on a silent electric scooter. She completed the work during the hours of darkness so she would not arouse suspicion. She didn't do a bad job either. She used shovels and pickaxes to dig a 10-foot deep tunnel which ran 30 feet towards the prison walls. A local resident, I think this is Ukrainian humour, a local resident said, "Perhaps she was a miner's daughter."
Yes.
Yeah, it's good that. Yeah.
That's very clever though.
And on that bombshell, we shall be back next week. Thanks very much for listening. Do subscribe, like, and share if you do enjoy the podcast. Tell your friends. That's always fun, and the more the merrier. Thank you.
Thanks for listening to Weirdly Enough. Remember to subscribe to get the latest edition as soon as it drops. And don't forget to leave a review. Email us about anything we've discussed or with your own weird tale at podcast@weirdlyenough.com.